everyone, and welcome back. Today we are going to be playing mono red, but not the mono red that you may be used to, because we are a bit more on the heavy side, and for once in a very blue moon, we are playing 24 lands in a mono red deck, which is already spicy enough for us red players at times. But we are playing Ojer. This is a card that is always fun. It's a very fun card to kind of have in your arsenal, and when you get it to work, it feels very rewarding. But it says if a red source you control would deal an amount of non-combat damage less than Ojer's power to an opponent, that source deals damage equal to Ojer's power instead. When it dies, return it to the battlefield as a land, and of course, if it's a land and we have another one, we can always play that down. But what do we have that triggers that other than obviously just burn spells? We have Higher Claw, who attacks and deals 1 damage, so then that can deal 4, which does come up in this video, which is very nice. We have the Razorkin Needlehead, that if our opponent draws a card, they will actually take 4 instead of 1, and then the Viper as well. If they cast a spell 3 or less, instead of taking 1, they will actually end up taking 4. So it is weirdly a taxing type deck, where we play early game threats and then we play our kind of top end, and with whatever early game threat lived, if any, that card can kind of get a ton of value off of our Ojer. Other than that, we are playing a lot of burn here in terms of Lightning Strike, Burst Lightning, and the Shock, if I can actually grab it there. So you kind of have a lot of that burn, and then you have a lot of burst damage, I like to call it, at least in the cards that come in, chip out a lot of damage, and then maybe leave, like a Nova Hellkite, which is obviously pretty awesome, and then the Razorkin and Viper as well, which can oftentimes be reliable to at least give you 2 or 3 damage. Maybe not 3, that's a bit more optimistic. Maybe 1 to 2, it's a bit more in scope of what those will do. And then we have a one of links. This is a best of 3 list overall, as there will be a sideboard. This is a list that went 5-2 recently in either a challenge, I believe. I could be wrong about that, but it is a spicy red list, going a bit heavier than what a lower to the ground red traditional list would be doing. So that always makes it very exciting to kind of try out the new deck. Maybe not new per se, but a deck with a new twist on it that is traditionally played in a certain way. So with that said, we're going to go ahead and dive into the games. I hope you all enjoy them, and let's go play. Blue, black, they keep. We go here. We go to combat. We attack. I'm just going to pump for now. Not get too crazy. I understand I have lightning strikes that I could hold up, but blue black lightning strike probably gonna find value later. Most likely just getting popped. So I'm glad we got the damage from it that we could. We are on 24 lands, so do expect to draw some lands throughout these couple of turns. Don't think that us drawing lands is a necessarily lucky feat, because again, we are 24 like a lot of other decks residing. We want to be hitting 4 and 5 mana with this deck. Weirdly enough, as you can see, 4 mana would let us do this into this, and this played right now would only do 2 damage, but then, you know, obviously I'm threatening a 5/4 because it is a massive creature. So this is probably like a counter spell, so I'm willing to just wait a turn with double lightning strike here. We can hit them for like 6 damage, and then if we don't hit a land, we can go for the links, or we can go for obviously our good old-fashioned Nova Hellkite. They play another non-land. Oh, that insta resolved. On the 8. You're gonna deal some damage to us, but that's okay. Gonna deal 3 to them and 4 to us, because we haven't played a single basic. This is a Tidebinder. That would be kind of funny. I would assume it's creature removal, not a Tidebinder. Sure. Still does it. Speeds all the way up. They take 3. Could have argued that we go for like the Razorkin head, but this is 6 mana. Yeah. But they could play the one guy, I guess, which we actually weirdly find lethal for. If our creature lives, obviously. Yeah, the Mind Bitten. Weird, but... So now we both exile everything. Burst Lightning also finds it here. I don't know, obviously. Yeah, dude, sure, deal. Okay. Now we don't even have to risk it. Okay. Yeah. It's just that easy, forehead. Just draw the card you asked for and Arena will oblige, right? Every single time, no problems whatsoever. Very cool. All right, this looks a lot more like the hands we're going to be having, right? We actually have basics in this hand instead of 4 non-basics when we play. Honestly, very few. We go here. We probably hold these. We really want to isolate some of their other cards that they play. Maybe. This is kind of hard to get around, so I think I just popped the Moon Shadow, and then we can just put that back in their hand with the Viper when they try to go for value on it. Iron Claw threatens a block. I think High Claw's better here. There's the other thing too, right? Is if we can get them to kind of blow their hand up a bit. If they don't have a ton of stuff to go well with it, then we'll be good. A 3/1 indestructible land comes down. We could throw a block here just to force a discard. Then we could try to like shock it in response and then see really how committed they are. This creature attacks each combat Fable at the beginning of combat on your turn if you control creature power 4 or greater. Sure. Good cards. Let's see where our opponent's at here. Here. Kind of making them commit here. Sure. That's fine. Light Shatter's actually a pretty good card here. Could bounce pop. At the beginning of each combat, on your turn, if you control a creature with power 4 or greater, you may pay a red. If you do, return this card. Okay. Let's just... Well, that's going to make them take their whole turn, right? I just pass, maybe? I guess? Yeah, I could have went like this, but I want to hold it for a second. Here. Again, if they're just going to hold cards to protect that, then great. That's fine with me. Sure. That's our goal. If that's the whole point. Sure. Here. Obviously, a Hellkite or something would be the best draw now that we have 5 mana, because Hellkite comes in, forces them to discard, or removes that creature. Hellkite is our best card against this matchup right now, at least in terms of obviously main board success, things like that. But obviously, if we miss Hellkite here and our mana isn't going to be doing much, I'll probably go for the Light Shatter and discard this land plus some other stuff. Do I want to block this 3/1? I'll just force them to discard. And Viper also hurts me in this match. We're just at the point where it just doesn't matter too much, right? Get rid of a land, so they keep the other one. I take 2. Let's go Light Shatter here, double pitch. Okay. We haven't played a land, and that's a lot of 1 mana spells in there, so we hope to hit something that's good. Sweet. We could take their last card from them, but we can also take the damage away from them. And then setting a 5/4 in front of them is a bit tough, but I could just also isolate this, right? This saves me damage. Is it total? If you control a creature with power 4 greater. Okay, no. Like, they could play these, it's kind of whatever, but the problem is once they start attacking, it'll get a little weird. This will deal 1. I'll take 3. So we'll end at 9 here. They'll take 2. Sure. Combat. Here. Because we do get to trigger cards in our graveyard, right? So, will they block? No. We can force them to use their last card, though, which would be nice. We can 100% force them to use this last card. Here. Until our end step, right? I'm not being crazy. He may play that card this turn. Yeah. Sure. Here. In here. So now I have like a double block opportunity. They're at 9, so they're getting a lot closer, right? And these burn spells might just end up going face now. But if they want to double attack, I will double block, and it's not really that close. I don't think, anyway. Because I can only give one of these indestructible if that's the route they want to take. Is that? Discard a card, this creature gains an indestructible until in a turn, tap it. Or no, not that card, discard. Whenever you discard a card, can't. Okay. Combat. Here. Okay. I think I just played 2 blockers out instead of the links. Especially considering these actually just closed the game as well. A lot of 1 toughness. Sure. Yeah. Sure. Combat. Attack. That should be all she wrote, because I can only block that, and then obviously I can just pump. Yep. There and there. Unfortunate, obviously. Pretty weird game. I haven't actually played against this matchup that often, so it's kind of hard to figure out exactly how to do my spells. I can imagine after playing against it multiple times, I might actually change how I played that game, but for that game, I don't feel too awful about it. All right, our mana seems to be a bit more diverse here, so that's pretty nice. Fire Bluff Canal, of course. We only play, I think, 1 of these. I'm pretty sure. So it is a bit weird on that front to kind of be like, what would that be? Maybe a Spell Pierce or something? I mean, let's jam this. Or is that 1 spell? No, it's instant speed. I'm too used to Tragic now. Tragic Slip. After we had Cut Down for so long, now Tragic Slip. Now, obviously, that Hex is a very good card. Hex cannot stop this. This could be a counter spell. I could go for Breakout plus Viper here. Just kind of flood the board out and then play the Haster after. Sure. Is this just blue-black mid-range? So a Kaido or something could come in here. Stock up. Okay. It says Menace. How am I supposed to... What am I supposed to do about this? Let's pop here. I know it sounds weird, but I want the extra damage from the Bitter Blossom. I want the damage from this, actually, which is weird. Go ahead. Sure. When an opponent casts a spell, mana value through your last... Sure. Do I care if they Kaito me here? I'm not sure I do. Sure. Turn. Spell Pierce here? Spell Snare. Okay. Yeah, that makes sense. I think well, with Bitter... I think I go for the most damage, right? Crack them for 4, set them to 8. Getting them closer to that lightning strike range. Now, Spell Snare was huge for them after that board wipe. You like to look? If they have removal, I would say if they have removal, they'll take our other card. They go ahead, but because they take the Light Shatter, we can kind of assume they don't have removal, weirdly enough. Are we... We are. Okay. What? We went for a Light Shatter? Over a Deceit? Wow, a tap out? That has to be wild, right? Here. Now, here's the worst part. I honestly want to play this, but because they are like a board wipe based deck, I don't want to. I just want to hold up my Lightning Strike. Sure. Okay. 3 plus 1 is only 4 there, obviously. Sunspine Links. Interesting spot to be in. Oh, man, I just can't do anything with that. We only play 1 Sunspine Links, to be fair, so... And this isn't enough to take that out, so they're going to gain 2 as well. That's just brutal. I think we're going to lose this one. I think that tap out was kind of crazy, in my opinion, but it worked out, I guess, so... Okay. So they have removal, I guess? I mean, jam, I guess? No, wait! Stop tapping out! Like, why? What? The only out I have is hit a land and win. You could have hit me for 4 and kept the 6/6 flyer back. Oh, if that's the case, attack with this. Opponent goes first. I guess. It's just so weird. You kind of want a decent chunk of lands in the opener. Well, maybe not against this match. That's a red, and that's a what? Guess they have a Helix available? Gotta be a Helix or get lost. Okay, well, maybe this opponent will beat me. Oh, 4 color. Okay. We should have known. It's typically how it works. If you keep a 4 lander in a best of 1 arena format, you will rip 17 extra lands. That's okay. These burst lightnings are going to get good, though. We can't do anything if we don't give them a target, right? For inevitable defeat. Sure. Yeah. Lightning strike. Okay. This is literally only a trap here, I think. There you go. We are pretty much digging for like a Sunspine links, etc. Red white is available, so Helix is online. We just have to find our burn stuff, I guess. Or more lands. One of the two. Demoralize is available, so we just pass here. Yeah, I guess. Little do they know I have more lands. Here. Here. Go ahead. Sure. I mean, we have to try to win. This is pretty much on. Okay, I'm just moving on. With that many land draws, I'll just move on. Like, we barely drew any other actual cards other than one or two, I think. Oh, the peak this hand has if we were on to play. Higher Claw on turn one feels very, very tough to beat most of the time, especially when you play a second one with like a shock backup. Okay, well, unfortunately, I think I have to answer this, but we will on their turn. Okay. You can't pay equip cost at instant speed, so that is not a thing you can do. Are you, how to say, you doing that? With that, I think we just hold the lightning strike, right? What else do we do? But here, this kind of effect can only be done, again, like we just said, at instant or at sorcery speed, so not a whole lot they can do there. Obviously, they can equip this over and over. Yeah, that's a card we got to target here. Feels weird to kind of have to play this slow motion type game. Obviously, we couldn't do much to NT, but sure. Okay. Let's answer Mako. And then we'll answer NT next turn. We'll play in Higher Claw and then we'll play NT. That's not in your hand, bro. That's with NT. You don't have another card in your hand. So here it is definitely, I don't even want them to have the option to like get NT value. So we just get rid of it, play Higher Claw. A card that's obviously very, very good with a card like Moon Shadow, but fortunately enough, we're playing Shock, so we're able to answer it on turn one. And we just went the full stop control route, right? Like we just didn't do anything else. You could have just paid full value to put that on, but okay. You could have paid 3 and kept that land to then play the Bloodghast. So a little unsure why they didn't. So we're going to play this Burnout. We're going to play this other Higher Claw. And we're going to do something a little weird. We're going to attack with this Higher Claw. And once this damage happens, we're actually going to upgrade this one. And the reason for this is so we can actually block this Bloodghast. Sure. Take that block for free. I feel like just here. Because the thing with Higher Claw next turn is it will deal the damage before we get there, and then these will get double strike. So we're looking actually at 2, 4, 6, 8, 9, 10 damage, not counting a pump from us. I mean, obviously you can full pay. Okay. They do not know, but they are cooked. We'll hit first, and then both these will get double strike. We could have just done it the other way, but it just didn't matter. But yeah, cool. We'll take that over and over again, I guess. Opponent first. First Ojer. That guy. First time we've had one of these in our hand. All right, no Landwehr Elf, which makes us pretty happy. Admiral Cub isn't that big of a concern on our first turn here, so because they can play it, they'll bring up a land. It's kind of whatever. We go Higher Claw into Burst Lightning the Badgermole Cub. Oh, Kenai. Okay. That's pretty good. I kind of want to go Higher Claw here and to hold up the Burst Lightning for that Badgermole Cub. I don't want to attack just yet, so we'll pass. Could have attacked, and if they block, we do something. But again, obviously, Badgermole Cub causes a lot more problems. Team Pollinator, sure. Would have loved if it was a Landwehr Elf for, obviously, the Nova Hellkite to get some action there. Also, as long as our Higher Claws live, it makes a card like Ojer become insanely valuable. Sure. That a Flying Kenai? Yeah. Sure. Let's go Razorkin here. No. Sure. We do have 4, 8, 12 damage once we play this Ojer. Once we play it, anyway. Okay. That's a Badgermole Cub, if I've ever seen one. Obviously, we answer that. Obviously, we got to do what we got to do there. They only have one blocker, which is good for us. And here's a lot of damage. And then they'll block 1, and we'll lose 1, which does give us another 4 that we get to swing at them next turn. This Razorkin on the draw here is actually going to deal 4 to them instead of just the initial 1 because of Ojer. So right now they're at 6, and if they just only answer Ojer or do nothing, they lose because obviously we have the second Ojer. But they have to answer Ojer because it's weird. But then if they don't have a flyer, then our Hellkite gets through, and that could be lethal. It's a very weird situation there, man. Or a Boroid. Tap out. Maybe you go for blocks. But again, that does not cover the damage. So we go here, and we'll get to show off something really sweet. We go there. We pick off the flyer. Well, it's actually non-combat damage to everything else. No, it's lethal this way. Duh. Don't be a dummy. Because they go block, block, or well, block, block, and this has trample, so it's not going to get through, but 2 damage will, and the rest does, yeah. I don't know why that took me so long to figure that math out, but we got there. Thankfully, I didn't not attack, right? So, cool. The age-old question, is mono red viable? And I definitely believe it is, especially after kind of the performance we had. I think we ended up going 5-1, I believe. Yeah, we have 6 matches, and I lost 1. 5-1 and best of 1, which is really nice. And the thing is, the meta is so fast but it's really fast whenever your opponent just blows you out, right? Like if your opponent has the crazy hand, you're never going to be enough, right? They're like Land War Elf, you answer it, the Badger Mole, you answer it. And if they play another one in Nature's Rhythm or Mockingbird it, and there's just nothing you can do, right? Like, well, you were getting blown out by that matchup no matter literally what you did, right? The only card I can think of right now off my head is Sunderflock, which we've obviously had those in other matches. But weirdly enough, this deck just has enough 3-turn sequence that about at any point in the game, 3 turns, whether your life's 20 or 5, that it can close out the game, right? So we saw there on that last one, for example, where our opponent was able to build a wall by playing a 3-3, and we weren't really able to do anything with our higher claws, but we had an Ojer in our hand, so we were perfectly fine with that. Because these higher claws out of nowhere just end up swinging and dealing 8 damage. The 2 of them we had, they deal 8, right? Because it's non-combat damage. And that is a bit wild, especially whenever we had a Razorkin online as well. So in one turn, they went from 20 to 8, right? Like just out of nowhere. And I'm threatening lethal the next turn, right? Because a higher claw trigger target hit them, I pass, they draw a card, Razorkin then answers it, right? But that's just a thing that Mono Red has not really done in the past, at least all too often. Obviously, the Fling deck is something that comes to mind where you set up a slick shot and you do all that. But just going to turn 6 or 7, you know, we have to do it, right? But going to that like 6, 7, 8 turn, Mono Red is typically always dead in the water, but this one just floats around on you and it just sits there. And it's kind of menacing just across the table. Like, what is it going to do? When are they going to do the thing? What's going to happen? And just weird little champ damage off the Viper is really annoying. The Razorkin is really annoying. And then all of a sudden we have bullet cards like the Sunspine Links that is just randomly going to come in and deal 4 or 5 to you. Or Tursa is a awkward card that we play 2 of that randomly. We haven't been too aggressive. We've been playing a lot of these cards. And then a Tursa comes down and they're all swinging and you don't know what's happening. And Lightning Strike, obviously, to get a little reach along with Burst Lightning and Shock. So we do have a lot of damage here if our opponent's not playing anything to gain life. Unfortunately for us, that control opponent was playing a lot of ways to do it. I think, honestly, the 4-color control deck is a little bit worse than what Jeskai is. There's a lot of Jeskai decks putting up results. Inevitable defeat, not being able to target lands, makes playing against like Badger Mole stuff a lot more complicated in my opinion, but it is a good answer to Ouroboros. So, you know, you kind of have like, damn if you do, damn if you don't on that kind of situation. So it's a bit weird, but I don't ever picture us going against 4-color control very often. I see it once every like 100 games, it feels. So I'm not even really evaluating that one all too much. But the other thing as well with that final kind of talk of over the top power that we can randomly have is with a card like Hellkite, right? It's very common that our game plan, because we play 24 lands, we are very land heavy in this deck. It's very common that we're just like Higher Claw or just Shock, one of those turn 1 plays, play either a Viper or a Razor Needlehead or even a Lightning Strike, or if we have the one of Squelcher, doing one of those, doing this on turn 3 into turn 4 Ojer. If nothing on turn 4, maybe we're double 2 mana spells or a 1-drop and a 2-drop. And then on that turn 5, we play a Hellkite again, and it's just doing a lot of value for us. But we have a good sideboard here. If you want to play it, it's fairly straightforward. The cost of the deck we'll break down real quick as well. This is a bit more expensive for a mono red deck. The Squelcher, you probably don't have to play if you don't have one. It's definitely a card that you could substitute in and out. But as you can see, regardless of that, it's so many rares, and even having to play the blue for the Squelcher, or not the Squelcher, but the where did you go? The Viper, because this is a very important card. Return target non-land permanent to its owner's hand does come up quite a bit. So you do just want to play the free blue mana, especially like on the Verge, which is easy because it is just de facto red. If you don't really have anything, Spire Bluff Canal typically will never cost you any problems. And Steam Vents just obviously, so the pressure of shocking that in is not there. But then the sideboard is even more. So this is a very expensive deck to have to craft overall. But if you have been an aggro player for a while, let's be honest, you probably have these, you probably have these, and you probably have these. and then most likely some of these and these. So from there, if you're talking like as an aggro player, most likely your collection is going to contain these, and this is more or less what you're going to be looking at crafting. You could cut these if you really want, and if you don't have these or whatever, or you can play other blue-red lands. You can play like the deserts at ping if those are still legal. I actually don't know off the top of my head, but this is a free include in this deck, so you should definitely be playing this if you can for that Viper play. And if you don't want to play it best of one, then cut that card and cut the blue lands, and that reduces the rares quite a bit. It's 4 cards. Obviously, it could maybe cost you a little bit, but good replacements, I think, is definitely Seer. It's an instant speed 4 damage, which is nice. And the Roku, I think, is also a cuttable card overall because, again, that's the most kind of flexed out card you can have. So with that said, I hope you all enjoy. It's a really long outro for Mono Red, which typically never happens, which I feel very weird about doing that for Mono Red specifically, but a lot to kind of talk about when it's not just play 1-drop, 2-drop, 3-drop, shoot them with spells, call it a day. It's actually like 1, 2, 3. What are you doing on 3? Then 4, and then going to turn 5. Like, what are you doing on those turns? So it's a bit interesting with all this deck can offer. So with that said, I hope you all enjoyed, and I'll catch you in the next one. Thanks for watching, and goodbye.